Live from the Talking Joe studios, it's Talking Joe.
Talking Joe Weekly Podcast. Talking Joe is there. Talking Joe thought we would last. Talking Joe is there. Find each other like a married couple. Our podcast on the air. Talking Joe is there.
Talking Joe is the code name for a completely untrained special podcast force. Its purpose, to produce a regular comic review show while breaking and replacing a series of presenters from across the world.
Talking Joe. Talking Joe is there. Talking Joe. We are on our soapbox. Nobody seems to care. Fighting for fandom wherever there's trouble. The podcast on the air. Talking Joe is there. Talking Joe. Talking Joe.
Talking Joe is on the air.
We had retired that somewhat self-indulgent jingle, but I thought, given what we're talking about today, I'll give it one last whirl. You are watching and listening to Talking Joe, the dedicated G.I. Joe comics podcast. And today we are talking about the somewhat brilliant comic from IDW called Saturday Morning Adventures. And we'll be talking to all of the creative team about it. But first up, we'll be talking specifically to the writer. So we are talking to Erik Burnham, a Minnesotan writer and artist. He's worked on many different books at IDW, often with Dan Schoening and colorist Luis Antonio Delgado. Past work includes Ghostbusters, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Back to the Future, Galaxy Quest, Scarlet Spider, New Warriors, Red Sonja, and Kiss, but most importantly, G.I. Joe Saturday Morning Adventures, which is why we are talking today. So, hello, Erik, and welcome to the show.
Hey, how's it going? Thanks for having me. And pardon me in up front, just in case I cough. I'm just getting over a cold, and it just doesn't want to let go.
Yeah, I've given myself some Lemsip because I think I've got hay fever and maybe a cold. It's difficult to tell when you've got them both at the same time. So
that's true. I live in the middle of the woods, so I get a lot of both.
So I'm feeling okay at the moment, but yeah, if you may find me blowing my nose, having a silent cough, but
yeah. If I hit the mute and go like this, it's probably just the cold. Yeah, so so nobody's confused.
Yeah, unfortunately, as we're remote, if I cough directly at you, you're not going to get the con crud. Yeah. So that's great news. Mm-hmm. So where are you joining us today from, Erik?
I am from the I'm in the middle of Minnesota, state of Minnesota, the Brainerd Lakes area, just smack dab in the middle of the state. So relatively close to Canada, relatively center of the U.S. So yeah.
Excellent. And as a kind of a tradition now is when people come onto the stream and they've got exciting looking backgrounds, I always like to have a little nose. So it looks like you've got some ephemera there sat behind you. What the highlights there?
Just a bunch of things that found their way onto my wall. I got some art from my friend Evan Shaner, who did a Ghostbusters guest series, and then a sketch I had from him before. Just some random toys and an Ecto One license plate, just something to distract me occasionally when I'm in the middle of writing something and I'm stuck. I look around and see some of the junk I have hung up just to get out of my own head. That's the excuse anyway.
That's the excuse. Excellent stuff. So we're talking about your excellent series, G.I. Joe Saturday Morning Adventures today, and we'll be joined by some of the rest of the team later on. But we're going to take this sort of advantage of this opportunity to sort of delve into your background specifically, because we spoke at length with Danny when he joined us a little bit earlier when he was talking about the the Untold Tale, I think it was that he had done issue 2, 7, 8, which was a great issue. So for you, what was your first exposure to GI Joe? Was it a property that you kind of got into as a young Minnesotan?
Honestly, this was the one. This is why it's funny to me. This was the one that I wasn't allowed to have because it was my brother's set of toys.
Oh no!
You can have these. He gets those because he got the first GI Joe, so that became his thing. However, since we did share a room for a while growing up, whenever the cartoon was on, I was right there watching the cartoon and getting a kick out of it. So even though I didn't get to play with the toys, I did get to watch the cartoon and enjoy that immensely.
Crikey. How much older was your brother than you?
No. Yeah, I'm the older brother, but he got those first. Right. So I mean, yeah. He's about 2 years and change younger than me.
Wow.
3 years actually.
Sounds adversarial. My brother was like about 3 years younger than me, and our sort of collection. I started it first as I was collecting it as it was coming out, really, when it was starting, and my brother just got into it because he loved everything that I was into, sort of looking up to me as a big brother, I guess. And it was very much a sort of shared collection. So interesting. And actually a similar thing with co-presenter Tim, sort of very much a shared collection. Although I think they definitely had ownership of individual figures between them. They'd be like, that one is mine, that one is yours. But
I think my parents just didn't want to keep track of who owned what, so it's just like, okay, these ones all look the same, they belong to him. These ones look the same, they're you. We're keeping it simple.
Keep it simple, yeah. So I guess sort of somewhat aptly for the purposes of this future work, you were while you didn't get the full experience of the toys, you did get a chance to watch the cartoons, and did that make much of an impact at the time?
No, I got a kick out of it. I liked stuff that had action and humor, and GI Joe had both.
Mm-hmm.
So it worked out. And I'm going to go off on a little bit of a tangent. I know that it was not on a Saturday morning. I know that it was a weekday show, and I enjoyed watching it every weekday, getting back from school and hitting GI Joe and Real Ghostbusters and the whole nine. But yeah, no, it just, syndicated weekday afternoon adventures just doesn't have quite the same ring as Saturday morning. So I wanted to throw that out before I forgot it. But no, I did. I enjoyed coming back, and I enjoyed the 5-parters. And I think it's obvious from the story that I did write that I enjoyed the weird, when they just jumped into the weird stuff. That it just that was so much fun. I mean, not just the supernatural weird stuff, the Egyptian gods, whatever, but I mean, just the science fiction weird stuff, the Fatal Fluffies, all of that stuff. I enjoyed that they just ran with it, they rolled with it, and it was a lot of fun.
Yeah. So you sort of touched on it just now. So the title of Saturday Morning Adventures, as you say, not as catchy as Get Home from School, and then it's that program that you watch sort of mid-afternoon on school weekdays adventures. So where did the title actually come from? Who held the pen on the title? Was it one that you came from? Was it IDW?
Saturday Morning Adventures. That was IDW, and that was because they plan on doing more. As a matter of fact, it was just announced I'm doing a Ninja Turtles Saturday Morning Adventure.
Oh wow!
So that's continuing on. They just they launched it with GI Joe because when Danny and Luis and I did the Ghostbusters Transformers crossover, and Dan just nailed the animated look for the Transformers. At that point, we were like, well, we should do an animated Transformers book, or an animated Joe book, or an animated Joe and Transformers book, just to get this look back out there again. And we pitched first the idea for Joe and Transformers to Hasbro, and they said, we don't want to do a crossover, like a crossover, right. like a Sunbow crossover. They didn't want to do that yet. What could have been? Yeah, they didn't want to do that yet. they had their own reasons, which I won't speculate on, but they said we could do GI Joe. So that rolled right into GI. Now I have a whole pitch, a whole story for Transformers and GI Joe that would have been fun to do, but we rolled on with GI Joe, and all of that, 100% of that was just because Danny, who comes from animation, is so good at nailing exactly the look of every single thing. He's on model 100%. And that's really the where the book came from. We want to get Dan to do what he does so well on an animated property.
Is this something that you'd been talking about doing before Dan did a Real American Hero issue then, 278, or so had it kind of been percolating before that point?
Looking back, he was scheduled to do the Real American Hero, but we were talking about it before. Mm-hmm. So technically yes and no. But no, it was just basically on the strength of Dan being able to draw on model anything that he needs to draw and have it look, the way it's supposed to
just
look.
Right.
So yeah, and that was it's 100%. This is a Dan Schoening, get him to do what he does kind of project, and I just lucked into being along for the ride.
Very modest. So we talked about watching the cartoons after school. Did you get exposure to the GI Joe comics as well as a young guy?
Some. I never lived near a comic shop, so it was always catch as catch can. And if I happen to spot something on the newsstand, or if I happen to get occasionally, my parents would get me like just like a grab box of comics that there would be some GI Joe stuff in. I did get to read some of that, and sometimes it would come in the middle of the storyline and I was confused. Other times, one of the ones I remember specifically buying off the stands was if you remember the cover with Destro, Snake Eyes, and Cobra Commander all unmasking on the cover. Mm-hmm. I mean that grabbed me. I said, I have to have that. So not as many as say something like my old favorite Spider-Man, but I did get a decent chunk of the GI Joe comics. Don't tell Larry I didn't read more than I did.
I'm just trying to remember. I heard someone talking about that issue, unmasking. I'm struggling to remember who it was that said this, but they said that it was an issue that they bought, and they saw the cover, unmasking, finally going to have the, Snake Eyes, Destro, Cobra Commander unveiled. And they were so disappointed when you didn't actually see their faces. They were like, that's it, I'm out.
that cover was just, it was a heck of a sales pitch. Seriously, whoop, mine, didn't even flip through it.
Absolutely. So. Those Marvel comics, the covers really sort of, they were so individual, and you can kind of immediately see the cover and sort of remember exactly the comic. So that's fantastic. So what else was going on in your world as you were sort of watching these cartoons, reading comics? What was the big things for you then, and in those early years before you then sort of moved into wanting to do comics professionally?
Well, if you talk to my mom, I kind of always did. Around 4 or 5, I said I wanted to either write comics, make comics, I should say, or be a magician. I don't have the manual dexterity for hand magic. I'm no good with card tricks. So it became comics because I like storytelling, and I enjoy writing prose. I enjoy writing screenplays. But I really love comics. Straight up, I think everybody who works in this industry at their core loves comics. They don't get into it because it's not something else. They get into it because it is what it is. And given all things being equal, it's just it's a wonderful method of storytelling. And I wanted to do that. It was also, to be fair, just not to contradict what I just said, it was easier to get a comic out than something like a movie, because I didn't need to wrangle anybody else. I could, worst come to worst, I could put something together on my own. Yeah. But no, just the love was always there, and it never occurred to me that it was something that I couldn't do or shouldn't do. It was just something that I wanted to do, and it took a while took a while before I was able to do something and get it out to an audience regularly. But I mean, it was always worked towards. So.
And it's interesting you say that you kind of wanted to work in comics from such an early age, because I quite often hear the story of there just being a moment of realization that actually comics are a thing that are made, and they don't just magic up as if conjured by a genie, that they're actually people sort of working many hours and days to kind of produce these things. So I guess that realization came to you early, that somebody has to actually make these things.
Yeah, well, I mean, I was reading very early, and you see on the cover of a book that there's an author, so somebody made this, and it just it just didn't occur to me that wasn't the case with everything. Although I was probably a little bit more naive about how many people it took to make any given thing, but yeah, no, I just I just figured, okay, well, these people here, they got a credit box that says buy. Okay, they made it. If they can make it, I should make it.
Stan Lee most of the time, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Big letters, and
there was a lot of Stan Lee.
Yeah, the actual people who made it in a much smaller font. But so after kind of wanting to make comics at a young age, what was the route that you somehow found to make it as a profession?
Well, okay, I'll give you a condensed version. Around abouts of the late 90s, I was working in radio. I was doing both announcing on-air broadcast stuff. I was doing website stuff. I was doing stuff, in the office. The company got taken over. I got laid off, so I had no job for a while. So I was spending more time on the internet. I was hanging out on message boards, talking with people about comics, and eventually I got to be friends with some of these people on the message boards. We started hanging around in group chats in the late lamented AOL Instant Messenger. And in these group chats, a lot of them complained about, Marvel or DC. They're not as good as they used to be. They suck. I hate how they're doing this. I hate how they're doing that. Finally, somebody said, well, if you guys can do better, why don't you put your money where your mouth is? So December of 2001, we decided to do an anthology, a group of us. We put together that anthology in record time. I think like 8 months, 7-8 months for an 80-page book. We got it done. We got it out, and then we decided to continue on. We did a few more of the anthologies. We got one shots. We put out a mini series. Just a bunch of projects. One of the people who worked with us, Tom Waltz.
Wow.
We put out his miniseries, Children of the Grave. He got it collected over at IDW, got friendly with them, became an editor. He liked my work at the comic book Nick Landime that we put out. He liked that, so he offered me a chance to pitch for an anthology that he was working on at IDW. I got in there. Then he said, "Hey, would you like to do this, this toy tie-in?" Yeah, I'll do a toy tie-in. So I did that. Then it was a tie-in to a movie, which was the A-Team, and then it was Ghostbusters, and it just kind of incremental steps, all from me losing my job and hanging out on the internet on to me doing this full time.
Excellent. Sounds like a very similar origin story actually to Brandon Jerwa, who's a G.I. Joe writer for Devil's Due as well, where he was laid off from a radio station and then used that time to write some spec scripts, send them off, and got picked up by Devil's Due. So
yeah, I wish that I had been as as proactive as that. This just kind of hey, you should be in the anthology. Okay, yeah, I can do that. I have time.
Excellent. We've actually got Lewis waiting in the wings as well, so I'll
cool.
add him in.
Hello.
Hey, buddy.
Hey, man, it's been a long time. How have you been?
Been good. It has been a long time. Holy cow.
Oh, it's been like 7 years, I think.
Oh, man. No, it can't have been that long. Can it?
Yeah. I think the last time I went to Comic-Con was 2016, I think so.
Oh, my goodness. It has been that long. That is too long.
Yeah, it's been too long. I mean, Ghostbusters, Godzilla, G.I. Joe. It's been years since we talked face to face.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. See, this is well. Appreciate you getting us both on the podcast. We at least say hello to each other.
Are you kidding me, guys?
Yeah.
I'm actually honored to be on the podcast. I was trying everything. I even put out an alarm clock so I wouldn't wake up too late or be hangover or anything. So I was really focusing on being on time.
I had 3 alarm clocks, 2 on my phone, 1 on my.
Wow.
Yeah, the same thing. I was just like, I was working late last night. I'm like, oh crap, that's right. Tomorrow I can't be late. I can't oversleep. But we've been working together since 2011 on
Yes.
I mean Ghostbusters and Ninja Turtles Ghostbusters and just Godzilla bunches of stuff. And I'm recognize how lucky I have been to work with Dan and Luis. It's just been,
So how did the dream team all form? Was it a case of the editors, going, you're the writer, you're the
pretty much, yeah,
penciler, you're the colorist, and
Tom Waltz was going to put together the ongoing Ghostbusters book, and he said, "Have you seen Dan Schoening's work?" And I said, "Not yet. I think I'm going to hire him." Okay, cool. Look at his work. Yeah, that's the right choice. And Luis, Tom had been raving about his color since before Ghostbusters. So yeah, it's all just Tom Waltz recognizing, finding people and putting them where they should be.
Well, but don't forget that you did the Ghostbusters Infestation. And
I did.
Then I did Ghostbusters Convolution on my own.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember the name of the artist. And then I had to do a tryout with Dan because he was doing What in Samhain Just Happened.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to do a tryout, and Dan approved of my colors. So I started working with him. So then the ongoing happened. And he said, I like Erik from Infestation, and I like Dan and Luis from, the What Just Samhain Just Happened. Sorry. And that's how it happened, because we've already worked on Ghostbusters in a couple of projects, each one of us, but not together. And then he decided that was the dream team. So he contacted all of us, and that's how we started.
Yeah.
Wow. And
I didn't know it from that. I knew
later.
that they'd worked on Ghostbuster stuff separately, but I wasn't sure that was the full amount of the details that how Tom came to picking them. So
yes, let's just pick up some more stuff on the writing. So I was looking at your website. Let me pop this into the screen. You've got a sort of a sample sort of scripting kind of process where you talk about your method for writing and what that might actually look at. So can you talk to that a little bit and sort of specifically, how it applied to the G.I. Joe book as well, kind of whether that fit nicely in your standard method or not?
Oh yeah, no. Everything gets written largely the same because it's a comfortable process. I have if I'm lucky enough to do a general outline of the entire series. Sometimes I have a shorter outline, but I have an idea of the story from beginning to end. I get that out of the way, which I think that is part one where I plot. Then I break it down by the page.
And did this kind of the main thrust of the story that came to you pretty early on as a fairly kind of solid idea of kind of it's going to be this Genie plot, or did you?
Right, I wrote something that. Well, no, I know that I knew that I had 4 issues. I needed to know that I needed to have an idea fast because the schedule was tight, and I knew that I needed to be doing something different. I would have needed more time to come up with the heavy sci-fi that G.I. Joe often leaned into. That's something that was different enough from anything the show had done. But they hadn't done as many of things like this. And the oft references Egyptian gods episode was the one that sold me on doing the Aladdin initiative, the Genie thing. It's something that offers a lot of possibilities, a lot of comedic possibilities, a lot of action possibilities, and if there's any, well, how does this make sense logically? It's magic. It's a genie. It's a shortcut. So it all helped. It all helped to fit into the time that I had, which I think I only had a few days to come up with a plot to get off to Hasbro for approval. So yeah, it was tight.
Quite a condensed couple of days just coming up with the overall plot idea. So it wasn't too much time to kind of and about different ways you could go.
Yeah, it was kind of Tom emailing me on a Tuesday and saying, "Can you get me something by Friday?" So one of those things. But yeah, I get the general idea down, and then by page, I tend to write just the dialogue with minimal scene action, whatever I need to remember. And I break it down, yeah. And then after that, after I have that part, the generation pass there, I go and I format the script, and while I'm formatting the script, I add in more description. I find out if dialogue is redundant or repetitive or unnecessary or needs to be fine-tuned or expanded in some way. I find out if certain pages and panels can be expanded or condensed or cut. And when all that is done, it's like I've done 2 drafts of the script, or maybe even 3 drafts, depending on how I do it. Before it gets turned in as a first draft. So most of the time, writing it this way has kept me from having to do extensive rewrites from editorial notes or licensor notes, because I try to anticipate the where the plot holes are. I don't always find all of them. And that's why the editors are there, or licensors are there. And sometimes it's a matter of something that I didn't know needed to be in there. We want this to be about this, or say this, or this character can't do that. And then, you make changes. But for the most part,
I was going to say, in the cases of like a licensed book, which you often are working on, that the licensor and the editor are seeing these early drafts to kind of stop you early. Are they to make sure that you're not going off in a direction that they don't like?
Right. Well, I mean, they don't see anything until a script is finished, and then But I mean, they do approve of the plot first, so I have to get that to them first and get approval there, so that there's nothing, so that the general direction is approvable, and then when they get the scripts, then they go over the minutia and say yes or no, or why something needs to be changed if it does. But so far, like I said, working the scripts the way that these this little article says I do has saved me some trouble. But it's not perfect, and there's still every once in a while I'll still make a mistake, or still do something that a fan says that I shouldn't have done, because everybody knows. And I mean, it's not infallible. I'm not infallible, but I try.
Sure, I'm not infallible. I'm very modest. That's nice. So once you've got the script across, and it's going to go to the artist who's often Danny in your case, does that mean do you then sort of have much interaction with your artist, and specifically Danny for this project, about what he'd maybe like to draw, what interpreting a particular page, that kind of thing?
Usually, and we have more of a shorthand, having worked together for so long, that he doesn't have too many questions. Dan will come to me, or Luis will come to me, if there are questions about something that I didn't have in the script, because most of the time I'm just like, they know what they're doing. I'll let them pick the proper route. But if they have a question, I'll respond back. When there are first thing Dan does is he does thumbnails for the pages. If something comes up where that's not going to work because this reason, I'll let him know, which, I mean, that's come up like 1 out of 1,000 times, where Dan has to change something because it doesn't work with the intent of the script. Very super rare. More often, what'll happen is if he draws something differently that doesn't quite work with the script, I'll rewrite the dialogue to make it make sense. And because that's the easier thing than redrawing or recoloring. It's easier. So I'll fine tune after the art is in. And if there are any questions before Dan's going to draw, he'll shoot them to me. But usually there aren't too many questions, and usually there aren't too many problems. So it's just 1, 2, 3. I if it wasn't for the fact that there was a step with licensing that had to be approved, I'm sure that I wouldn't see the pages until they were completely done.
Yeah, I think when Larry Hama writes, he often does a dialogue pass kind of over the final art to kind of make sure that he's kind of talking around anything that might be slightly ambiguous in the art, or sort of talking to the facial expressions that have been drawn and that kind of thing.
And I mean, and a lettering pass for that kind of thing is absolutely necessary. Larry, he still gets to do the old school Marvel method. The younger writers, the writers who haven't, come up doing that, don't have the deserved clout that Larry has. No, we have to turn in a full script to be approved before the artists even get a whiff.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it's a different method, and that option isn't available for us. And I'm not entirely sure that some writers and artists would mesh with it as well, but or excuse me, just some writers. But either way, once the art is done, it's always worth going through and doing a polish on the dialogue, and if the face says it, you don't need the words sometimes.
I actually had a question that I meant to ask a little earlier that I'll get to now, which is that I think on your bio you describe yourself as a writer and artist. There we go, writer and artist. Could you talk to the artist aspect a little bit? So,
well, when I started out, I was doing comic strips, and I was doing other things. But when I started out with the anthology that I mentioned, I didn't have a whole lot of contacts of friends who did comic art. I definitely didn't have the money to pay somebody what they were worth to draw the story. So I did it myself. And sometimes the art looks better, and sometimes the art looks worse. And it'll always take me about 5 times as long to draw something. So a page that takes Dan a day will probably take me 2, maybe 3 days to get to the same level of quality. But and which is why for the freelance stuff, I'm always going to be a writer. I just can't work to the speed that the artists need to. But if worse comes to worse, and I have a story that I want to tell, I can technically tell it myself. I can do it good enough to tell the story. I'm not going to say it's to the level that you would want to that a publisher would necessarily want to pay me for regularly. But I can, it's not illegible. It's not, that's the wrong word, but I mean, it's not incomprehensible is the word I'm looking for.
Excellent. I'm wondering, seeing as we've got both of you here, Erik, did you have any questions for Lewis, and Lewis, did you have any questions for Erik?
I wonder when he has time to sleep, because I've seen his name on a lot of books, and Tom has told me a few things, Luis. I won't mention, but when do you have time to sleep? You're a busy guy. Jeez.
Well, I have to be busy, guys, because colorists don't make as much money.
Yeah.
I mean, thankfully I live in Mexico, so it's cheaper for me. So that's not a big problem. But I love what I do, and sometimes you don't know when the dry years are gonna come. So I have now offers to work in projects, so I have to take them. I have to take the advantage of this moment, because maybe in 10 years nobody's gonna want to hire me. So I don't know. I drink a lot of Coke. Well, drink Coca-Cola and sometimes Red Bull, and I try to do as much as I can and enjoy the weekends with friends and family. And other than that, I just wake up, work, take a bath, and work until I go back to bed. So that's the way I have to do it.
Oh man, yeah. I'm exhausted now just hearing it. So I mean, I have a similar schedule, but it seems so much more work with the color.
Yeah, I mean, it's not the same. I could never write anything. I mean, I would be saying like G.I. Joe says, Duke says, I hate you. Cobra Commander says, I hate you back. So we all have our advantages.
I mean, that was my first dialogue pass, so there you go.
Yeah, that's okay. No, I mean, I remember what Erik was just saying, that he tries to do his own artwork when he started. I remember the first time Erik and I were part of the same book. It was House of Horrors, Gene Simmons' House of Horrors.
Oh yeah.
Issue 2 or issue 3. That was
Yeah.
my first book on IDW, my first professional gig. And I
Yeah.
think it was the first time Erik did a book as well. So that's the first time that Tom, Erik, and myself were credited on the same book.
Yeah, that was my first IDW work as well. Yeah. Holy
And
cow,
that was back in 2007.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Oh boy, that just feels so much so much longer ago than I want to.
And Mark, you don't know this, but I don't know if you talk about it before I came on the interview. But every time that Erik writes the script, he does a little at the beginning. He says script by Erik Burnham, edits by Tom Waltz, drawing by pencils by Dan Schoening, and colors by Luis Delgado. But he always does some kind of funny joke, and it's just hilarious to me to. I wait for that joke every time I open one of his scripts. It's like I want to see what his mind is traveling, how far he's going. That he has to invent nicknames for each one of us. We've worked together for 100 books. I mean, between Ghostbusters, Godzilla, and G.I. Joe, almost 100 books. So he has 100 jokes for my name. I mean, that's how crazy Erik is. He's amazing. I mean, he's one of the funniest guys ever.
I kind of wish that they would put those in the credits sometimes, but they never do.
Oh,
That would be
no.
amazing.
Oh.
The last time, I think the last one he sent to me was Pantonolist, Luis, I don't know, something between Pantone and Colourist and my name, and it was really funny. I mean, I don't remember right now because I don't have it in my computer, but it was like, this guy's always making me laugh.
Well,
If you had a colorist who couldn't talk, they might be a Pantone mine artist.
There you go.
There we go. Okay.
I'll have to remember that one.
We've got Danny and Tim waiting in the wings, so I'll add them into the stream.
I really want to talk Joe with you. It's a real American Tim. American Tim.
So here we go. It's a real American Tim Finn, and Danny Dapper
Whoa.
Dan Schoening.
There I am.
There you are.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yep, we can
Great.
hear you good.
It's good to. I was listening in a little bit on what Luis was saying. It was nice to hear your voice again, Luis and Erik.
Yeah.
Nice
Hey,
to meet you,
brother.
Mark. Nice
Yeah.
to meet you, Tim, virtually. I like that comic
and-
you have in the background, Tim.
I'm in a hotel in California. This is Plan B, and
Nice.
so this is the wall behind me. And
Always good to have a plan B.
if there was a second computer, I could HDMI into this TV right here, and I have actual G.I. Joe animation behind me. But so it's my rectangle is only going to be one out of 6. So I thought I didn't need to go crazy with the background.
Yeah.
It's it's lucky that the hotel had that comic there already. That's very fortuitous.
I think what you might be saying is it's lucky that I don't travel without G.I. Joe comics.
Mm-hmm.
And Diana Davis said that she might join us at some point if she takes a break from looking after little trees. Diana is there.
Yeah.
Hey there.
Hey, Diana.
You're in the bonsai shop.
Yep.
Excellent. It looks it looks
See,
chill.
there, bonsai tools. There we go.
Oh, nice.
Actually, just across from me are some rather fantastic pine trees being worked on. So, hold on. There, see?
Whoa,
Look at that.
That's
Wow.
awesome.
Yeah,
That
told
looks
ya.
That's a big
incredible.
bonsai tree.
Fantastic.
Yeah, Diana, sort of from your perspective, what point did you hear about this project, and was it a normal project for you? It's from what I've heard so far, it sounds like you maybe was a little bit more hands on, at least in the cover choices.
That's for the cover choices are because if it's not hands-on with a cartoon, the hands end up going on. Try prying my fingers off of anything to do with the cartoon. But when Tom told me about it, I just got so excited. I geeked out for 20, 30 minutes until someone told me, stop talking, please. We need to move on this. It was really exciting. He told me it was coming up. He showed me some of the stuff. And before he said anything, I said, well, could I help on that one? Because I know a lot about the cartoon. I'm really into the cartoon. David Thornton, who a lot of people know from Quick Kicks Theater, and I used to geek out over the cartoon. If anyone knows anything, that would be that guy. But he's been, off the grid for a bit. So I I excitedly volunteered myself for that. And I'm lucky enough to live in Los Angeles, where pretty much most of the storyboard artists, actors, writers, directors, they're still here, and you run into them a lot. And so for me with that, when they were asking for variant covers, I said, I wanted to see this. I'd love to see it. Those guys still enjoy talking about the cartoon and doing them, and they love it. Would it be something that's possible? And Tom liked the idea, and Larry Rick liked the idea, and so it all worked out well. I mean, Larry and Rick's covers just came out. Larry's cover came out, right before the movie hit the theaters, and they all three of them knocked it out of the park. Will was not necessarily available for anything new, which was lucky enough for me that they said, well, we'll just use that piece that he did for you, and he was fine with that too. So that was one of those happy. All the planets aligned properly for that one. But honestly, my job is just to sit and be in awe of Erik, Dan, and Luis, which I constantly am. It's just I am lucky enough to be able to see these things put together, read them, and just get to immerse myself in something I've waited over 3 decades to see. The hardest part for me was shutting up about it for a long time, because I knew about it long before other people did, and I just had to sort of sit and bounce up and down in my chair like, it's coming, it's going to be so good, you guys don't know. So yeah, it's been fantastic. And if they need something, I go get it. I need, Dan said, I need as many pictures of Polly as you can get me.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
here I go.
Pictures.
So yeah, but it's
Excellent.
it's just been so much fun watching them do that. Just watching them put it all together and being able to sit on the sidelines for that. It is an amazing comic. I've not heard one negative thing about it.
Yeah, I think you're right. From what I've seen as well, it's been sort of, the one consistent is just people, really raving about it and having this genuine affection. The 5 stars out of 5 stars, 10 out of 10, all of that kind of stuff. 2 thumbs up if you've got 2 thumbs. So let's delve into it a little bit. So Danny, we were just talking about the fact that you'd done your issue and you'd come on to talk to us about it. In fact, issue 278, there it is with Snow Job, and there'd been kind of discussions slightly prior, slightly after. How did it, when you were doing that issue, in your mind, were you kind of thinking ahead to this project as being a possibility and it almost being a tryout?
No, it's actually a surprise for me. I wasn't expecting to be able to do the Sunbow style or to do an arc of stories based on the show. And the 278 issue was a lot of fun because it's not quite using that animated style. I was kind of looking more at the 80s G.I. Joe comic books at the time. And Luis brought his amazing color skills to that issue as well. So it was really nice to be able to work with him. And it was really cool to illustrate a script that Larry wrote, because he writes differently than Erik, who I'm used to. He writes all the dialogue first, so I can kind of get an idea of how what kind of mannerisms and poses I want to use with the characters. But Larry, he writes it in a way that it's just kind of a breakdown of what he'd like to see in each panel, and then he'll add the dialogue later. So it was an interesting way, because like when I got to actually read the comic, it was really fresh and kind of like, oh wow, okay, that's what he was going to say there. Yeah. So, but so it was a lot of fun, and and it's a different style, but equally as exciting for me to be a part of. So, but my heart lies with the Sunbow style because I grew up in the 80s. So getting to emulate that style as close as I could, it was a real honor for me because, I just loved that. That cartoon was a really big part of my childhood, and I had quite a few of the toys. I never had that awesome aircraft carrier.
Nobody had that.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know anybody who owned it, but I remember one day a kid brought Sky Striker to school, and everybody was just flipping out at recess. They're like, "Oh, everybody's huddled around him." He's like, kind of showing it off, and yeah, it's it kind of the nice thing about kind of going back to that style is that it kind of reminds you of what it was like to be a kid at the time, and I think a lot of people relate to that. So, yeah.
And did you do? I guess this is for both Dan and Lewis. Did you do kind of any specific preparation to sort of get yourself in the G.I. Joe animated world and sort of get in that zone?
Do you want to go first, Luis, or should I go?
Well, if I go first, it's gonna ruin your answer. So.
Okay, I'll go first. I watched a few episodes of the show, mostly to kind of get an idea of the movement, and I took a lot of references from, like, I'll kind of go through and watch it and then kind of take screen grabs of it. I looked at a lot of the original 4-episode pilot, and then I kind of stuck between the season 1 and 2 after that, because I would pick ones that I found to be the most, I guess, the draftsmanship was higher quality, because some episodes, it kind of differs depending on what studio they give the animation to. So I believe it's Toei that I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly, but I think they had the highest quality, so I stuck with that mostly. And but I remember a lot of the voices and everything as a kid, so I didn't have to do too much of that immersion to kind of get back into the feel of it. So yeah.
Well, and then if you have never read on any of the interviews I gave when I was doing Ghostbusters with Dan and Erik, Dan has every time he sends a page, he sends a color thoughts file, and he actually has all the screen grabs that he talked about, and he puts them on every file of every page. And he says this panel has this reference, and this panel has this other reference. So he has thousands of references that I use every time just to get in the mood. And there are inconsistencies on those cartoons back in the 80s. So if I have a question, I always went to Diana and I asked her, like, there is many different color choices for this character or for this background. Can you help me? Which one is the most accurate? And she would tell me, this is the one. So before I go into the page, I have to make sure that I'm doing the right thing. And I have Dan's references, and then I have Diana, just to make sure I'm not making any mistakes.
Yeah. And I also want to reiterate how important Diana's input was for this comic. It wouldn't look as good without her on the project. So thank you very much for your help with and kind of putting up with me when I had asked for lots of references.
Yeah.
It has been nothing but a joy. It's literally 3 decades of pent up wanting to get that on the page. And again, mine is you'll ask me for something, and the emails can be epically long.
Yeah,
I'm going to get every single one. And Luis is right. There were some characters that were never drawn the same way twice. And in that situation, you just have to pick the one you think is going to be the most recognizable.
Mm-hmm.
And that's sometimes hard to do.
Yeah, my biggest problem was Snake Eyes. I remember Snake Eyes sometimes is blue, sometimes it's purple, sometimes it's different kind of color. So I had to go to Diane the first time. He showed on the last page of issue 3, when he's on the goodbye part of the cartoon, and he's talking to the little kid outside of the comic book store. And I had to ask Diana, I need to know which one of all of these references for Snake Eyes is the right one. And she made a choice, and I went with it. She's the one in charge. She's the one who knows the book, the characters. I went with that character because that was the most difficult one.
I asked once why Snake Eyes was purpley blue. And the response is really, with hand-painted animation, a character who doesn't talk just turns into a black blob. Even if you have silver, it's just a black blob of paint. And there's no voice to attract people's attention to him. Nowadays, things can be a little different with the computer enhanced or just computer animation. So they went with the blue or the purple just to make him more visible for the time when he was on the screen. But different seasons, he's more blue, more purple. Sometimes he's even like lilac colored.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's hard to make a choice, and if we make the wrong one, that's my fault. So I chose the way I like it. Aha, blame me.
There's also
Yeah.
somewhat a rule in animation that you don't use that much black paint. And a couple shows in the 90s and aughts tried to play with that rule, like the HBO Spawn. But some of it has to do with the limited range of broadcast television, the actual latitude of light and dark and color, and some of it has to do with sort of finger quotes conventional wisdom, like what looks good. And if you think of characters that are in black, I guess Mainframe's helmet and the Cobra bats are actually black paint, but you see what happens when Mainframe's in front of if Mainframe's in a nighttime scene, or if there are a bunch of Cobra bats next to each other, you start to lose the difference between them.
But actually, now that you're talking
so-
about that kind of aspect with color, you have more range in animation because you have RGB kind of colors because it's digital. You can go darker. But when you are coloring a comic book, you are working on it on a computer that has the same range, the RGB and the colors that are pixels and are based on light. And then you go to print, and they always go darker. So you have to be even more careful with the dark elements, characters, backgrounds, or anything, because it's going to lose once it's printed, and you're going to lose the drawing or the art. And so you have to be even more careful when you are coloring comic books than when you are working on a cartoon or something that goes on TV or live stream or whatever nowadays.
Just a question while we're looking at the PSA page that we've got there. When did the PSA sort of idea kind of come into the picture? Was that from you, Erik?
Oh no, there was no way we were not going to do the PSAs. They are you can't separate the PSA from the cartoon. So we were definitely going to do it in the comic book. The only thing that made weird was the bulk of the issue was 19 pages instead of 20. We had to wrap it up on an odd part to get to the PSA, but no, we had to do the PSAs. We needed to. It was a little difficult figuring out what we were going to do with them once we decided to do them. But I'm looking at this one now, and I'm just kind of wishing that Dan had drawn Snake Eyes as Boy George. But
I wanted to fit that in, but
I so want. I was looking for a space myself. But no, we just wanted to do something that was fun. I think the thing that I got a kick out of was the PSA in the first issue about pirating. Excuse me, not pirating comics, about ranting online. It was interesting to see who interpreted that how. There was some folks that says, what? Oh, they're saying that I can't have a bad opinion about something? That's not true. No, the point was, calm down before you go start attacking people. Don't do that part. Have the bad opinion. Don't go online and start just going for the jugular. Don't do that. And some people did get that, and some people didn't. And so that was an interesting discussion to see pop up online about what we were saying that we couldn't. Some of them thought I was saying that they weren't allowed to criticize the book. No. I mean, it would be nice if you don't, but that wasn't what I was saying. I was just saying, don't be a jerk.
I have. We
so
should
don't
also
be a jerk, and then some people go, "Hey,"
Yeah.
self-identifying as a jerk.
We can also point out that this is not the first time that a one-page PSA G.I. Joe comic has appeared in print. When the 25th anniversary figures hit stores in 2007, there was a print campaign of one-page ads, which were drawn in not as much of a Sunbow style as this, but something approaching a Sunbow style, where am I remembering this correctly? There are these one-page ads where a kid realizes that the toys are back, or now there are comic packs, right?
I think I recall those.
Like Flint is in one of them, and it ends with, you know, and I think these are the back covers of the like half issues and the B issues, like 21B and 34 and a half. And those were fun. They were sort of flatly making fun of the PSA thing. And what I like about the 4 that are in this miniseries is that they feel warmer. They're not just sort of making fun of the fact that there are PSAs and it was the 80s and, you know, grown-ups were worried about kids and the show needed to have this message so that kids would be okay. These feel authentic in a different way because they're not advertising something external to G.I. Joe, like comic book 3-packs available at Toys R Us. And then also the first one is this joke, right? It's like, no, you're going to read this comic and have a reaction. And the PSA is telling you something. And then the second one, Snake Eyes, doesn't say anything. So that's another joke. And then the third one, we see Law, and it's escalating a little bit in its intensity, right? The final panel, like, he's really wagging his finger in a way that would not have happened in any of the PSAs. And then the final one breaks format with Lady Jane and Flint because it takes place after this story and it refers to her wanting to get dinner with Flint in issue 3 or 4. And then also with her talking to the camera and not talking to a kid, that one feels much more like a PSA from He-Man or She-Ra, where it's not a kid getting into trouble and a Joe helps. The Joe is just telling you something, right? Like in today's episode. This miniseries, my one sentence review of this miniseries is pitch perfect, not long enough, right? I wanted more pages and I wanted a 5th issue because I couldn't quite tell if this was like a 2-parter or a 4-parter or a 5-parter. We haven't had 4-parters in the show. We had 2-parters and 5-parters. And, you know, I want all 20-page comics to be 22 pages. But the fact that, and then the PSAs are just the icing on the cake.
I was just going to call out the fact that even in the PSAs, we got a nice little sort of nod to the original comics, that the one that we were just looking at with Snake Eyes, with the blonde boy, is this same blonde boy that from the cartoons. And I suspect that's probably the case for most of not the last one, because I think that was just Lady J, but the other 3 were probably also original kids, I'm guessing.
Yeah, just
everything down to the kitty cat. That kitty cat was in an episode. Now you're gonna have to go find which episode the white kitty cat was in.
While we're since I can't be on the entire call, can I jump ahead and ask about an Easter egg? Who someone is, since we're now referring to blonde kids and kitty cats?
Sure.
All right. So to the creative team in issue 3, when Cobra Commander yells, "Release the gladiators," and there are a bunch of cobras cheering. I can see. Do you want to go full screen on me, Mark? Since I'm holding it up to my camera. All right. I can see the Games Master between Xandar and Zorana. I can't quite tell who is between Zorana and Dr. Mindbender.
Oh, what's that guy's name? Let me just look in my.
I know it.
Oh, okay, Diana.
Is he from the Pyramid of Darkness?
It's Colonel Slash.
Okay.
Yes, that's who it is. I couldn't remember his name.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. That's the one who went after Satin.
Okay.
There you go. He's a maxi jerk.
He's got the nice hat.
Colonel Slash, the maxi jerk.
Gentlemen would knock before entering a lady's dressing room.
Cool it, sister. Where are those guys you were dancing with?
How should I know, you maxi jerk? I've got enough problems entertaining this sleazebag audience without having to answer a bunch of stupid questions from the likes of you.
But we think those men are agents of G.I. Joe.
That term's got to come back, maxi jerk. I think I'm going to start using that.
All right. So my question for Erik about starting this is, maybe for Erik and Diana, was there any chance that this was going to be 5 issues? Because that is oftentimes more the number for a miniseries. Although IDW's been doing a lot of 4-issue miniseries recently, like Transformers, Terminator. But can you talk about your scale of the story? Because 19 or 20 pages does not equal 22 minutes of animation. And So 4 issues doesn't equal 4 episodes or 5 episodes if you're sort of mushing it. So were you thinking of this as a comic? Were you thinking of this as 7-minute acts? Were you thinking of this as a certain number of episodes? How did you sort of pick the scale of your story?
I mean, you work with the space you got. Hasbro did float out the idea of doing a 5-parter, but it was already decided as 4, as budgeted as 4. So that was what we were going to get. And you know, you just you treat it as I mean, you treat it as the equivalent of a 5-parter. If it's not 5 parts, it the constraints of a comic book we can't get as much stuff in as an episode of the cartoon, as you noted. But you know, the large beats, this happens here, Duke captured here, this happens here, like, you know, they'd all be the same, just don't have as much filler's not the right word, but that's the word I'll use. We don't have as much of the filler between the big beats. We had to cut a lot of that out. So it's a 4-parter. You can consider it the equivalent of a 5-parter. I would have liked to have an actual 5-parter, but no, 4 is what was there. And that was another reason that working with a heavy fantasy element worked out. It made a quicker resolution more easy to put on the page than maybe something a little bit more hard science. So yeah, it was just all about filling the space with, you know, as best we could.
And then my follow-up is, okay, so Duke's in charge, but Flint is around. Hawk does show up, and there's a great explanation for why he's not there. We see 86 characters, right? Like Strato Viper and Iceberg. We also see some 82 characters like Rock and Roll. And the rule for the show generally was, don't show characters that are more than 2 years old, because we're not selling those toys. And now and then the storyboard artists would put them in anyway, or the writers would sneak them into the background. And so, Erik, what is your because Cobra soldiers are more prominent than Vipers, right? So when does this take place for you?
I didn't want to nail it down, and they didn't make me nail it down. Part of the choices of the characters that we're in, I mean, it's after post season 1, Diana made sure that we kept it there. But it came down to a choice of going hardline with continuity on every beat, or having fun. This is our only chance to do this with IDW. We have 4 issues. Is it going to be more fun to throw in a nod to this character, or have this character that Dan loved, or that I liked, or Luis liked in the book, or leave them out because they don't technically work? We fudged it. so the continuity is a little bit fudged. It's not 100%. It doesn't 100% fit in. It couldn't, otherwise we would have, I mean, you know, it would have been us losing some of the fun.
Yeah.
And that just wasn't, you know, that wasn't appealing, to lose some of the fun for you know, for the hard continuity. I know there's some that would look at it the exact opposite way. The hard continuity is the fun, but we went another way. And I mean, it's you know, I'll fall on that sword, you know, so be it. It's just it was, we wanted to have the fun.
Yeah, I gotta hop off, guys, because my lunch is ending. But I want to follow up and say, look, if people insist on an explanation, it takes place between episodes 1 and 2 of Arise, Serpentor, Arise.
There we go.
Boom. That's when it happens, and it fits. You know, they had to go away for a little bit, and then they got back to that whole thing.
They're busy.
Yeah, right. They're not always just fighting one guy, right? So I love getting on with you guys. I was glad to see you all and hear you all in person. And I have to go, but it was great. And I want to say again, thanks for letting me be part of it.
Now back to G.I. Joe.
I think a minority of readers might have a problem with when does this take place, But I think this is more for a general audience, people who maybe read the other G.I. Joe comics, maybe don't, but everyone knows this cartoon. And I think people who look at this covered issue number 1 that we're looking at right now, who see sci-fi on the left side, like, well, he's 86. And then everyone else on the cover is, 83, 84, 85. I think almost no one who walks into a comic book store and sees this and says, oh, like the cartoon, almost no one's going to have a problem with that. Mm-hmm. So I think Erik's answer and Diana's answer is works just fine.
And a large contingent of people will have watched it, coming back from school as a kid, and since then maybe watched an episode here, watched an episode there, but aren't necessarily going to have it so tight that it'd be like, oh, between this episode and that episode, it's the general feel for the piece. Let's jump onto some art process because Danny very kindly supplied some pencil sort of layouts and the pencils, as well as the finished colored version as well. So maybe Dan, if you can sort of talk to this a little bit about kind of the process that you followed to kind of pull a page together.
Yeah, sure. So basically what we're looking at now is the thumbnails, and I tend to do them a bit tighter than some other artists just because it's easier for me to kind of springboard off of it if they're more accurate and tight, closer to the model. So, but this page, beautifully written by Erik, his writing is so good that I'm able to visualize it in my mind before I actually draw it. So it makes it really easy to get these panels down. And kind of the way I look at it is, if I can tell the story without dialogue on the page, like you could follow it visually, then I've done a good job. So that's kind of how I look at it.
So you're describing it as a thumbnail. That's implying little, right?
Yeah, these are about like
this is
big.
Analog.
They're not that large, so like an inch by an inch or something like that. No, maybe 2 by 2 or something like that. But
and
yeah,
is it with an analog, actual physical blue pencil?
Yeah, I use these. This is on a pencil extender actually, but they actually discontinued these pencils. So I've been playing around a bit with different brands, but none of them quite achieved these. I've actually been using these. They're Prismacolor Colourist pencils. And I started using them when I was in animation like 22 years ago. My gosh, wow, time flies. But I've been using them since. So yeah, everything is what I do. The process is I draw it, and then I'll scan it in, and sometimes I'll do like little revisions underneath the larger thumbnail that I want to kind of swap in, and I just organize it in Photoshop, and then when I get to the next stage with the pencils, I kind of take a bit of my animation training, and I usually draw each character separate from the background. So, and then I'll compile that later. It makes it a bit easier for me if I need to do any kind of revisions on top of that. So I can easily swap out a character without having to redraw the entire page or panel. So everything is all separate. I wish I had got some examples. If you can see back there, one of those is like a whole issue. Usually it's like about, 200 pages of paper. So I go through a lot of paper, but I do recycle it all. So yeah.
So
you recycle your originals?
Sorry?
You recycle your originals, or you mean
I recycle the sometimes the rough ones, but I'll keep the pencils. So
sell the rough ones.
I don't know. It's a lot of hassle.
That's true.
I'm too busy drawing. I don't have time to sell the art. I guess that's kind of the way I look at it. But I do keep all the pencil drawings, but the blue stuff, the blue line, the rough work, usually I'll recycle it. So. But hey, if you want to buy it, give me a shout. See if we can work that out. But and then as for this specific page in particular, you'll notice that the crowd in the background, I modeled it after the episode that this arena is taken from. and that I kind of did in color on top, just to kind of ease the process down for Luis as well. So he just has to put the color behind it.
Dan, can you talk about the actual line quality that you are finishing these characters in? Because what I think I see is something that looks like the animation was drawn in pencil on paper and then photocopied onto cell. And the backs of the cells are painted with cell paint. And so all this black line we're seeing in this animation on TV is a photocopy of a pencil line. And the artists that are doing those lines are being really careful. But you can see some artifacting in how a pencil line might get a little broken from the like melted carbon of photocopy toner. So I think I'm seeing in this artwork a black line that is meant to look kind of like pencil and kind of like photocopy. Am I seeing something that's not there? You just drawing it?
Yeah, no, you're right. It's actually, that's kind of the style I've always done comic book work in. And again, I don't use, I rarely ink anything. I find it kind of its own medium in a way, and it's quite difficult to be a really good inker. So I use the black Colourist pencil, and that's what I do all the cleanup work, which is something I also took from my days of doing animation. So, I just try and match. I look very closely at the show to make sure that they don't do any kind of thick to thin line quality like you might see in like a Disney animated film, but a lot of their line quality is the line is very linear. There's no thick to thin. So, I just use kind of a black pencil, I guess. Pencil crayon. That would be the way to describe it. Hopefully that answers your question.
Yes, very much.
All right.
And then I think the next stage is where Luis comes in and works his magic. So, Luis, what can you tell us about this stage?
I don't know, guys. I mean, it sounds like you're saying magic, and it's actually trying to do to say that what I do it's more difficult than it actually is, because it's not. I mean, especially when I have Dan's line art, he just does everything with his work, and then he sends all the references. So I use Photoshop and I use the picker to choose the colors, and I just do what he says. I mean, it's not that hard. So I wouldn't call it magic. I just do what Dan is asking me to do, and it's easier for me than try to actually come up with colors or palettes or anything. I just do what Dan says, and that's it.
Well, here's a
much
question.
too humble.
Here's a question then for the two of you, right? Embedded in the animation process is that the characters are colored with flat color and hard edges, and the backgrounds are painted in gouache, and there are gradients, right, which comes from actual airbrushing or wet on wet paint technique. So like this page we're looking at right now, the color approach from Duke and Cobra Commander is different than the background. So can the two of you speak to that?
Well, yeah, like you said, I mean, the backgrounds are color different because they were color different in the cartoon. They were doing, I think it was, I don't know, some kind of watercolor or acrylic or something. And that's what I do. I try to emulate the style with the backgrounds. And then when it comes to the characters, I try to do the flat and just do the hard. I think Dan calls it cell shade, I think. And that's what I do. I try to approach every background and character the same way they did it on the cartoon, because we're trying to give homage or to play or stay on the same universe that they were doing it. So I try to do the same. I mean, I just do that.
Okay, and then jumping to an Easter egg, since we're looking at this page, who can talk about the two visionaries that appear?
Those aren't visionaries. Those aren't visionaries. That's all I can say to that.
They're legally distinct.
Yeah, there's no holograms on them, so they're not visionaries.
I mean, Hasbro still owns that brand. Hasbro still owns that IP. But but sure, okay, understood. I will just say that as someone who watched a different Sunbow cartoon about medieval warriors in the future who used magic, it was exciting to see them or characters similar to them on this page.
Yeah, in the script it called out for gladiators, so my mind quickly just kind of jumped to that. I don't know if that was intentional on Erik's behalf, but he was setting me up.
It's called giving him rope. And
Yeah, just don't hang myself with it.
Yeah,
That's
exactly. No. Yeah, it's as often as possible. I don't try to give too much unneeded description on background elements, because then they don't get to have any fun. With stuff like this, which is fun. So
Good. We've got a couple of other pages that you wanted to talk about, Dan. So the next one is, I guess, exciting all action page with a couple of big close-ups of some of the main characters, Destro and Flint, and then sort of all action in the other two panels with lots of. This is the cameo panel, actually, sort of page, isn't it? There's all sorts of little details in this one.
Yeah. This one I just wanted to share. It's a fun page because there's so many characters on it, and it's rather time-consuming. But it's kind of, I consider these the 4 issues to be a homage to the cartoon. So it's my way of paying respects for the fun I had watching the show. So even though it was time-consuming, it was a labor of love. I guess that's the word I was looking for. So, but yeah, no, there's lots of characters in here that, you just might just see in this one panel for the whole issue, but that now that you've seen them, they're on that island, right? So, and there are some characters that I had not even heard of before. So it was kind of fun to throw them in as well. And some of them were suggested as well. I know Diana really wanted to see Mutt in there as well, so I had to draw him in there. And I love those. I forgot the names of them. Unfortunately, I'm drawing a blank. But the kind of robot armor suits that the Cobra troops would wear.
Snake armor, right?
Yeah, is that what it's called? Snake. But it's in like an acronym, isn't it? I think it's got like dots. Yeah.
All the best Cobra names are.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and this one as well, we had to. I sometimes I go a bit overboard, and I drew in characters that I wasn't supposed to, so we took them out. But I just wanted to share them here so that the viewers could see which ones we kind of pulled out and get a little bit of a behind the scenes of things that didn't show up in the final copy of the book. So you can kind of see some of the ones from the movie, which I remember seeing in the theater, which was a lot of fun. So that's.
Oh yeah. I can see it now.
Now. I always love Nemesis Enforcer. He's like one of my favorite characters from that movie. Although I don't remember him talking much, but I think he just grunted mostly.
Mostly grunts. Yeah.
Yeah.
We've got Big Lob up in the top left-hand corner of that panel.
Yeah, he's up there, and then there's like we had Barbecue in there, or is that Blowtorch? Sorry, Blowtorch.
This is Blowtorch, isn't it?
And I'm drawing a blank again on the character that's in the forefront here. But she was
this one.
In one episode.
I've got
Nightshade.
Yeah, I've got.
Oh no, that's Cops.
It's this one, Raven.
Raven, that's right. Yeah. So, but I just love to pull out those characters,
pilot.
And just draw them in and just have fun with it, really. So, and
we had some other very obscure ones, sort of just hiding in the detail there. We had the Cobra sub captain from Memories of Mara episode, and Tollbooth, who I thought originally, looking at the panel, never appeared in the cartoon, but I was wrong. He did appear. He just didn't appear in his toy colors. He was sort of this green. But I think this is probably the first time of him actually swinging the giant hammer that he came with as a toy.
Mm-hmm.
But very fun page.
So, Erik, can you talk about the genie and finding because the genie is part victim, part he's almost maniacal, or he's not vengeful. Can you sort of where you landed with the genie?
Well, I mean, just playing as a trickster character, and seeing that Cobra Commander is both one malicious and two manipulable. It gave the genie something to work with. Try to get the guy to burn through his wishes so you can move on. But just playing with the trickster character. That's not something that's as often used in GI Joe, so it felt fresh. I hope. I mean, I'm sure, within seconds of saying that, there's like, well, I have a whole bunch of new examples to prove you wrong, but none of them came to me while I was writing the book. But yeah, just like I said, just something easy, something fun, something different.
Mm-hmm.
Mostly, I was the thing that I had the most fun with was seeing people. There was a little bit of crow eaten when they saw the wish at the beginning. Here's his 5 giant bats, and he's sending them out, and like this is why did he only do? I had it referenced right in the book, and then you find out that he was just using them as a distraction to steal from gold reserves, and that's in the next book. And then I see all these tweets. Oh, we didn't expect him to do something competent. But it was fun to see that the harping on his decision just removed, gone the other way the next issue on Twitter and such. I mean, that was a hoot for me. But yeah.
Is so Duke has more of a role than Flint. Erik, was that your choice, or was Diana pushing for that?
No, I ran with Duke because, I mean, the cartoons that I saw, that specific voice was clearest to me, and that just made him an easy choice to put in the forefront, because I could hear how he sounds in my head a lot easier. So I mean, that's a weird way to make a choice, but that really was the way it went. Yeah.
And then a question for, I guess, both Erik and Dan. So the Cobra base, where they all end up in the final to that one, is that specifically the Cobra base that we see in the main title for season 2? Or is that sort of inadvertent because Cobra bases eventually are going to look like that?
Yeah, in the script, I just wrote that they're on an artificial island, and that there was that the structure was there, and then gave it to Dan to decide what he wanted to do with that, whether he wanted to use something from the toys, from the cartoon, something that was a mishmash or original. But other than the Cobra Temple, I didn't specify too much, because again, he might find something that's easier to draw than whatever I suggest. So
yeah, it's kind of a mishmash, really. Their headquarters is kind of takes from a few different versions of their headquarters, because on the show it seems like they maybe had like 3 or 4. So it was kind of like, in a mix between a bit of the toys. As you can see on the cover, it's more based on the toy than the show. But and in the interiors is kind of a mishmash as well. But it was kind of more whatever was kind of fit into the script the best. So if that makes sense. But
I'm realizing, Dan, if we would have written in the Terrordrome, we could have probably snuck in a Public Enemy cameo.
Darn.
Okay, and then since we're looking at this cover right now, maybe for Dan and Luis, can you talk about the design of the genie?
Yeah, I kind of bounced back and forth with Erik about it, and he was just make sure it doesn't look like anything that already exists. So we wanted to stray away from like really famous genies, like the Disney one from Aladdin or something. We didn't want to make them blue. Actually, the final color of the genie is Luis's idea, which I think turned out perfect. It really looks nice. As for the line, like the design of the genie, I really kind of leaned into the old Hanna-Barbera show. I think it was called Shazam, which is
I think we were talking about that. Yeah,
and a bit of Destro as well. So because I just imagined that most genies are bald for some reason. I don't know, or djinns, but I kind of leaned into those designs a little bit more, but tried to make it as unique as possible. And hopefully people like it. But yeah, no, I love how he's purple with the white goatee. It turned out great.
you don't see the white hair too often, so that's
it's unique for sure.
Nah, I don't know. It was just I think it was lucky. I think I couldn't escape from the Disney Genie, from Robin Williams Genie. I couldn't escape from it. So, and I didn't want to go red because it would be the Jafar Genie. So I was kind of trapped, and it didn't look good in green, and it didn't look good in orange. So I just felt like it looked good on purple. And then the black hair just looked off. So I don't know why I tried white, and I thought it looked good. Then I sent it to the group, and they thought it looked good, or they pretended it looked good. So we went with it.
No, it looked good. And it worked right away, and we knew it right away. So
yeah, for sure. And it's kind of like you mixed the two colors, the Jafar and the Robin Williams. Those two colors together make purple. There you go.
Oh yeah, like blue and red make purple. Wow.
Yeah.
Coloring lessons.
That's right. So,
Erik, was there any nudging or suggestions one way or another in terms of weapons? Because the story does account in the final issue for their weapons appearing. But it does feel like there are many panels where the Joes are not holding their weapons, and I wondered if that was a suggestion from higher up.
They didn't make any suggestions specifically, but it was just I guess it just came out in the way I wrote it, that it didn't need it in some scenes, and some in other points that maybe Dan just didn't want to draw them. So yeah, no, I don't know. If I would have had a personal choice, looking back and thinking, if I had done something, if I had gone intentional with it, I might have written less guns anyway. And that's just on me, which is kind of silly for a military fiction book. But I just I might have gone that way anyway. But Dan figured out ahead of me. So I know it's military fiction and everything, but I mean, it's also, if they're firing at each other, somebody's going to get hit. We don't have the space to show them hit. We don't always have the space to show them hiding. So maybe we just
no one ever gets
we
hit.
do that. Yeah. So yeah, no, it's one of those things. I guess I didn't put as much thought into. Boy, I'm going to hear about this on Twitter, aren't I? I didn't put as much thought into while we were doing the book. Weapons in hands and firing right away. So that would be on me, and I apologize.
I think anything to apologize for.
Oh yeah, my question was not a criticism, but an observation.
Yeah. The apologize is just getting out in front of the people who are going to come after me, saying, "What is wrong with you?"
I do think. I think this is a good point that there's already so much to draw. All these characters, all these vehicles, and then these very particular weapons. Yeah. So if you're giving your artist a break or inadvertently doing so, that's fair. But also, there is a logic that becomes a little silly in the show when you have these two lines of soldiers shooting at each other and no one's hitting anyone.
Yeah.
But they're sort of hitting things next to everyone. And then sooner or later, they're going to drop their weapons and punch. And so maybe you just get a step ahead of that. And there are some panels where there are fewer weapons. And then
I was wondering how they ran out of ammo.
It's unlimited lasers.
Yeah, that's it.
That's
You know,
how
I thought they run out. You know, I mean, because it's just like, oh, it doesn't work anymore.
Well, the show's inconsistent on this because
Yeah.
Roadblock refers to them as lasers in one episode, but also in the opening of the movie when when Hawk is firing, empty shell casings come out of his rifle. So the animation is a little inconsistent on this.
A little bit, but you know, we make do.
We kind of played with that a bit, yeah.
Yeah. I see the page that you got up there over in the corner. That is definitely one that folks took a lot of notice of Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow actually getting to do a little bit of a fight. And I know that that's not necessarily the way it played out in the show, but I wanted to see Dan draw it, and I thought it would look really cool, and it does look really cool. So that I am not apologizing for.
Yeah,
because I mean, to call it out specifically in the cartoon, it's often what Spirit and Storm Shadow were kind of the main kind of people who would face off, and it was the cartoon didn't really. Yeah, but it was less. Less Snake Eyes versus Storm Shadow that we're used to in the comics.
But also in the show, to say that Storm Shadow and Quick Kick or Storm Shadow and Spirit face off, I think in total that happens twice for each of those pairings. And so there are so many characters to cram in that to cite as precedent, you know, like, well, in the show, Storm Shadow and Spirit face off. It's like, well, if there had been 10 more episodes, invariably there would have been some scene where Storm Shadow would face off with someone else. And I think there is leeway in the brand. And even if this page sort of sideways winks at the comic book rather than the cartoon, I think it makes sense. Like, it's not like kids who were watching the show in the 80s, many of them were also reading the comic. And I'm sure many of them were thinking, why aren't these two guys facing off in the show?
Yeah,
even if the show wasn't going to get into
to see this when they're younger with their toys, you know. So I know I did. That's why I enjoyed drawing this page.
I think probably the big reason is you're not going to get any clever fight dialogue if you have these two fighting in the cartoon, and you know, that's, you want to work that audio.
Which is, I mean, that points to a bigger. I don't have confirmation on this, but I've long suspected that Snake Eyes doesn't do as much in the cartoon because he doesn't speak. And whether it's the writer's not quite sure how to approach that, the writer's not confident that when the animation comes back from overseas, if the storyboarding caught some extra body language, that the animation would communicate it and then it would be satisfying on screen, or if sort of writers and producers were saying, like, we don't need to push this character too much. He doesn't talk. It's sort of hard to deal with, right? Like, when you think of like a comparison that I often make in animation, thinking about animation, is G.I. Joe and Batman, the animated series from 1992. And Batman is paced, every episode is paced like a feature film, which is unusual for a 22-minute cartoon. And oftentimes the first minute of an episode of Batman starts with like a pan across a background, no one's speaking, and just sort of scene and tone setting as like two bank robbers are breaking into a vault or someone's walking, right? And that kind of cinematic visual storytelling, we see that more in animation since then, right? And a lot of G.I. Joe episodes just start. And so maybe a character like Snake Eyes in animation that comes a little later that can handle more subtlety or has a bigger budget or has a slightly better production schedule can communicate the subtlety of such a character. I like this page. I was very excited to read this page, and it didn't feel like it was breaking the rules of the show. But going back to my sort of one sentence review at the beginning of this episode, the reason why I like this comic book series so much is that nothing broke the rules of the cartoon. And you all know Diana firsthand as protective of the cartoon, and you'll have to take my word for it. I'm very protective of the cartoon.
Do you want to talk to this page, Snake Eyes versus Storm Shadow, anymore, Dan? You've obviously played with the layout of the page a little bit with the sort of slanted, jagged kind of panel borders.
Yeah, I kind of wanted to just have fun with it and with the layout and the kind of the gutters were meant to kind of represent like slashes. You know, I always think of that with the swords. And I actually gave you this page too to show that even like sometimes I'll make huge mistakes, and how important it was for us to get things right. You'll see in the final issue, Storm Shadow's belt is on the correct side, but when I originally drew it, I drew it on the wrong side because somehow I had flipped my reference. So I had to go back and redraw all that stuff. But it was just so important for us to make sure that we were getting it as accurate as possible with the designs specifically in my case. So, but I really like this page. I think it turned out, I'm usually quite a harsh critique of my own work, but I think this one turned out well.
Talking about layouts and gutters and whatnot, I'll just flip back to that earlier page that we were looking at with the not visionaries. This happens quite a lot on in the issue itself, that you've got kind of a bleed out from like one of the main panels, in this case the one with the fatal fluffy here, which fills up the entire page. So normally we'd be having like the edges of the page being either black or white, and then sort of the panels ring fence themselves. But we get a lot of bleed out of one of the panels to fill up the entire page's background, which is I think a really effective technique that you've used here.
Thanks. Yeah, no, I kind of like to mix it up on each page, and for years of doing Ghostbusters, I was very particular about making sure. I know Erik is probably smiling at this. I always drew everything horizontally, and Erik said, "Why don't you just mix it up sometime?" So whenever I do new comics with Erik in particular, I'll have that in the back of my mind, like Erik's saying, don't make everything horizontal. Play with the panels a bit, and just be a bit more creative with the layout overall. So, but I like doing the large kind of bleed out panels that are really large, and I think it's just nice to have that visually. Looks good. So.
Yeah, it almost sort of like makes you imagine like a big art board with the sort of the painted background, much like something we've got in our background today, where the characters are actually, are cells on top of the background.
Yeah. You can see beyond like the field guide of whatever would have been on your television screen, so you can see the full background instead of just part of it. Yeah. So, yeah.
Erik, can you? Since Neil Uitake is not on this call, I wanted to ask Erik about sound effects. Erik, did you create the onomatopoeia of each sound effect? Was that?
Yep.
Okay, so this one, can you go full screen on me, Mark? This is in issue 3. This is a wonderful sound effect of the shark coming up out of the water. That's those letters are your choices.
Yes. Yeah.
Cool.
I got him in the script, so Dan will have an idea of the spacing, same as everything else. And sometimes I should say sometimes Tom will come in and tweak, but I'm pretty sure that one was in the script because it sounds like something I'd write. the bloop of coming through the water. Yeah.
The bloop. It's a great sound effect.
A lot of the sort of the extra added fun of the issue is just trying to keep an eye out in the background of some of the little guest appearances and what else you could spot in there. So I was going to call out a few of those. Gung Ho, unfortunately, was missing his marine tattoo on his chest. I think that for legal reasons, probably wanted to stay clear of that insignia. But I think he could have just borrowed Mainframe's hat and sort of held that against his chest instead.
Maybe the big H hasn't yet realized that Mainframe's helmet has that logo. They're only paying attention to Gung Ho because they've made that toy again recently.
I get the sense that maybe you could have just put in a globe without the sort of insignia or something, and kind of got away with that. That would convey enough.
No,
without it being on the nose.
Mark, if it's a globe, then it's Captain Planet.
Okay.
He's a
People would have thought
Planeteer
he
now.
was captain player. Yeah. Yeah.
So,
It's an easy conclusion to reach. So we talked about Colonel Slash. Games Master is also in there, hidden away in the background, in between Xandar and Zorana in the crowd of the gladiator match. You've got to be particularly eagle-eyed for that one, I think, because you've just got a hint of a bow tie and a beard. Not a lot to go on. Obviously, Fatal Fluffy from Pyramid of Darkness is playing a significant role in the gladiator arena, and a fun one was the animated version of Road Pig, who I think did appear in Deke form with the orange hair, but not in his classic outfit.
yeah, those 90 colors in the deep animation. It's quite the palette on that.
I think that's Major Blood under the turret of that bright orange tank. I think that's Sonic Fighter's Major Blood and Sonic Fighter's Road Pig. Speaking of unreasonable colors.
Yeah. Garish.
I quite like that Major Bloods. That's the one with all the grenades. It's like a grenade for every day of the month. We had Keelhaul sort of hiding behind Snake Eyes in one panel, who doesn't appear in the cartoon because that's Admiral Ledger. For whatever reason, they had this other character as the Admiral commanding the flag. That was a nice little hiding appearance. Tim, do you know why we didn't get Keelhaul? We got this other guy.
Not directly, but my guess is that it has to do with the timing of when the animation's being written, model sheets are being designed, versus the timeline of Hasbro finalizing, a figure. And there had been making the flag was a real challenge. So I don't know that it had delays, but those timelines may not have lined up. And the show was, in the first 10 episodes, the first two miniseries, the show was making efforts to create brass above the level of Duke, who were never going to get toys. And so this just, Admiral Ledger feels in keeping with that.
And that was all of the things that I had spotted to call out. But I don't know, Erik or Dan, was there anything else that maybe we've not spotted that you'd like to shout out, or perhaps some of the things that ended up on the cutting room floor?
Oh, I know that there's going to be Easter eggs that Dan put in there that I didn't catch yet. So,
Diana mentioned that Duke's got the kitty mug from the that he's been using
at the end, on the last panel. Oh, sorry, go ahead, Tim.
No, please, you go.
Oh, okay. I didn't put a lot, like, compared to previous comics we've done, like Ghostbusters. I didn't put a lot of Easter eggs in the 4 issues because I kind of considered the whole arc to be an Easter egg in a way, like a homage. So usually that's what I do with Easter eggs. It's kind of like a little tribute, so I'll sprinkle in throughout the issues. But other than kind of maybe the characters we did remove, I guess those might have been kind of Easter eggs. And I'm trying to think of anything else.
I see 2 things in issue 4. I see on page 2, if you want to go full screen on me, Mark.
Oh yeah, the vehicles. Like
there's
spider thing.
That spider thing. I think that's from picking the radioactive crystals.
Yeah.
And then, is this the same page as the kitty mug? We see Hector Ramirez reporting from the Statue of Liberty.
Yeah,
which is a double Easter egg because, of course, we think of the Statue of Liberty as related to the animated movie opening, but Hector Ramirez is in the script for the animated movie, and his scene was cut. And also, this is not an Easter egg. This is just tragic. You've maybe been aware that the animated movie for its anniversary had a Fathom Events, like 2-day limited theatrical movie theater release. One was 2 days ago, and the other is in 40 minutes. And I can't quite make it.
Oh, darn.
Oh no.
I didn't know when they were taking place, but I own a copy of the movie, so I could watch it anytime.
Yes, I own several different kinds of copies, but I did think if this trip,
that's not my fault, is it, Tim? You just can't make it anyway.
There's a little too much going on. I'm on a family trip. I'm at a hotel. I'm in California. I think the nearest theater is Redwood City. I did go to the Fathom Events website last night, and I thought, but I've got most of the movie memorized, so it's okay.
That's great. You know, and also the fun thing about Hector Ramirez is he appears in. You obviously you guys know this, but he appears in a lot of different Sunbow projects. So one of my favorites is Inhumanoids. So maybe one day we'll get to do that comic. That'd be fun.
There's I don't know if this is an Easter egg, but on the cover to 3, the artist who did the cover to 3, the cover B, excuse me. These look like, Mark, the MiGs that Major Blood attacks Cobra Joe HQ in the first scene of the first episode before Cobra even has rattlers.
Right.
So that may be that reference because they're sort of triangular, fixed wing.
So, question I had was a question I really had was we're only in what, June at the moment. IDW has the license till the end of the year. Is there any chance we can fit in any more animated stuff in between now and the end of the year?
We did most of this last year, so no, unfortunately, there's no chance. The way comics work, the production schedule and down the line, all the stuff, we would have had to have started working on this probably in January to do another one, because it's 2 months to before regular solicits, and then the regular solicits come out 2 months after that. So yeah, no, if we had something done, ready and approved right now, it wouldn't come out till November, and yeah, it's just, unfortunately, it's a no-go. So the next publisher, if they give us a yell, then we can maybe do something, and then by that point come out at the end of 2023, beginning of 2024. But yeah, that's just how the publishing schedule is. Shorter in comics than books, but still longer than some people realize. Some people, this is longer than I realized.
I hear you on this timeline. I just want to throw out there, doesn't need to be a 4-issue miniseries. It could be a one-shot.
Yeah, no. I mean, it's seriously just the approvals process. It's too late in the game. Plus, Dan's working on another book.
Yeah. I would like to add though, big thanks to Luis as well for this one, because the issue 4 was the fastest I've ever drawn a comic book in my career. I think we did it in 19 days, and they take me 30. So I was doing like 2 pages a day on that, which is very rare for me because it's quite exhausting. But usually I work like maybe 10, 12-hour days. So those were longer days. Didn't get outside much, but certainly it was a lot of fun. And yeah, big thanks to Luis for putting in that extra time too, because the pages look great when they're covered.
Nah, it wasn't that hard, man. Don't worry.
No? Okay.
No, it wasn't. Actually, sometimes I have to wait. Like, I have to watch a movie or something waiting for you because, I don't know, you're too slow for me. No. But this time it was intense because, like they say, sorry guys for the short deadline, but we have to do it. And you at the beginning were really concerned and thought that you wouldn't make it, and maybe they will have to bring another artist to finish the job. But you didn't say anything to Tom or Erik. You just pull it off, and just, I don't know how much coffee did you drink. Maybe you have to check your body, go to the doctor to check if you're okay after all that coffee. And I just have to keep up. I mean, I couldn't just say like, yeah, Dan did it. But yeah, I'm busy, guys, with something else and just relaxing and watching a movie. So no, I had to do it. And, you know, it's easy. We've been working together for 10 years, like almost 100 issues. I don't know, and so I'm used to it. I like your pace.
Yeah.
So you were busy.
As a reader,
you were
I
very
will
busy,
say-
Dan. But somehow you did find a few minutes to fit in a page of the 40th anniversary special redrawing one of
I
the
can't even
the
remember
pages originally.
drawing that down, actually. That's an example of me actually inking a page. So I did ink that one. But yeah, no, that was a lot of fun. They just, I can't remember the editor who contacted me, so my apologies in advance. But yeah, they were just like, oh, like, would you like to take on one page and of the silent issue? And it was I had my choice of any page, which was super nice, but I had to go with Destro because he's one of my favorite characters. So, and I got to draw in little characters in the background there on the chessboard. So, but
Yes,
yeah, I was
yes,
quite humbled to be a part of that 40th. So it's a lot of fun.
Did the thought cross your mind to try and draw the page in the style of the animated series?
It did at first, and then I thought it's too similar because I was actually working, I think, on issue 3 at this time, and I wanted a break from it. So to kind of give myself a bit of creative difference, and it was a great opportunity to do it. And I didn't quite copy the original art style as well, so I kind of went with a bit of a hybrid of how I kind of would handle more of a traditional comic page, style. So, but yeah, no, it was a lot of fun to do that one. So great issue.
As a reader, I want to jump back to Saturday morning number 4. I could not tell that it was any kind of rush job. It looks as developed and consistent as the other issues.
Yeah, but yeah, it was really important to me to keep the quality level at that same bar, if not higher, because each issue I tried to get better at drawing the characters. And I'll look back at some of, like, maybe in issue 2, there's a drawing of Lady J that it was like, I didn't, I could have done a bit better. But I also I've learned over the years that perfection is an illusion. I can just try my best on each page and try to get better each time. So I can't spend like tons of hours on one panel, but yeah, no, it's setting the bar high and keeping it and trying to match the show as closely as possible was always the main goal for me. So I'm grateful to hear that you guys didn't notice. 2 pages a day. So, but, yeah.
So I own a comic book store, and we always have G.I. Joe issues for sale. And Mark and I talk in our other episodes where we're reviewing all the other comics, old and new. One of my litmus tests for a comic, if I'm giving it a grade, is could I give it to a novice or a non-fan? And A, would I feel sort of comfortable doing that? And B, would they enjoy it? And there are issues of the regular G.I. Joe that I would love to give, even new issues, issue 290 so and so. A comic that I'd feel good giving to someone who doesn't really know what G.I. Joe is. This is still a satisfying, comic book read. And then there are issues where it's actually not a good issue, or it sort of just doesn't make sense. It's not satisfying. And all 4 of these, I would feel very good. I have felt very good having for sale for sort of the nostalgic non-fan. Like, oh, there's a G.I. Joe. Well, that looks like that thing that I recognize. And in reading issues 3 and 4 just this morning, the story and my enjoyment of it escalated as stuff started to come together. The misdirect that Erik had for issue 1 had me dissatisfied, and also issue 1 felt short because it's 19 pages. But that's the problem I have with many comic. I want every comic book to be double-sized. So both as a reader and as a grumpy, protective fan of the Sunbow cartoon, and the Deke cartoon for that matter, but also as a retailer, I think it's a bummer that the schedule can't be different, such that this team can't squeeze out something else before the end of the year. And goodness, if a future rights holder is listening or watching, this is an easy goal. go on sports analogy, right? Like this is a bullseye, right? Like hey, next publisher, do make more of these.
Yeah, just
touchdown.
Give me a good time to do them in, so I don't burn out. That's all I'd ask. So, but the nice thing about it, like I can reiterate what you're saying, Tim, is that it's a very approachable comic for anybody, even if you're just a casual fan of G.I. Joe. So you could just pick it up and read it and just have a good time with it. So I thoroughly enjoyed reading every script, and I don't read them all at once. I read them each issue, so it's kind of like I'm experiencing it like a reader would. So I think that helps. But yeah, no, it's truly an honor to be a part of it, even for 4 issues, and I'm sure I can speak on behalf of everybody on the creative team that we'd love to do more of them as well. So
yeah, it would be fun, definitely, and with knock wood, maybe we'll get a chance.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think what's one of the elements that made this work so well was Erik, which I thought was a sort of masterful move, was sort of not dilly-dallying too much. You get right into the thick of the plots, pretty much page 1. It's like let's not kind of worry about kind of the whys and whatnot of the genie. Here he is, here's the lamp. Let's get on with the plot, and I think that just sort of made it feel so really punchy and just paced it. Given that we've only got sort of 19-ish pages to play with each time,
that's what happens when you have 19 pages. Yeah, you got to go a little faster.
Yeah, and not everything needs to be explained too.
Yeah,
I think sometimes over-explaining things in stories ruins the mystery and the illusion of what makes it so exciting. So
Something else that I like about page 1 of issue 1 of this is that it starts with the villains, and if you think of particular episodes of G.I. Joe, they start with the villains, and I think that's just an indirect way of saying what Mark was saying. We just get into it, right? It's like, well, he already has the lamp, right? But another version of this would be we start at Joe HQ, and there are a couple Joes at the big monitor, and Duke says, I'm getting a transmission from somewhere, like mainframe. Can you pinpoint it? I think that's Cobra Island. Like, what's this energy signature I'm getting? And then we cut. And Cobra Commander, I found it. But if you start with the villains, maybe you can hook your reader that much more.
Yeah. With a 5-episode mini-series cartoon, they'd have probably spent, quite a while sending out different teams into the world to find out where the genie lamp was hidden, and the Joe's teams would divide up and go and try and stop them. And yeah.
If this was a 5-part miniseries, and Erik either was writing it with a different schedule in mind or someone else had written the story, I think we would have seen the Dreadnoks finding the item.
But yeah, more likely.
Yeah, that'd be kind of a cool little amendment to a book sometime if we ever get to do more. It'd be kind of cool to see that. They're my favorite villains on the cartoon, so I was always asking Erik to put Zartan in there as much as possible.
And meanwhile here, I love translating Chris Latta's voice. Whether it was Starscream with the Transformers or whether it was Cobra Commander, I just have fun having that voice, rolling it around in my head and finding the words for it. So I was glad to get to play with the Cobra Commander.
Cool. I think I've monopolized your time long enough, so we're probably going to have to wrap up, but I'm sure we could keep on talking. So let's ask the normal questions of where can people find you? So let's go, Lewis first. Where can people find you if they want to find more from you?
You can usually find me with Dan and Erik. So if you find a book that the name says Schoening or Burnham, that's usually me. And the colors, nobody notices, but that's usually me. And I just finished Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the last running. If you're a Ninja Turtles fan as much as I was, because it's the same time, like we like Ghostbusters, we like Ninja Turtles, we like G.I. Joe, Transformers, all that 80s stuff, and you like Kevin Eastman and the Turtles, you can check it out. There's a hardcover It's really good. It's 202 pages, and maybe you can check it out. And that's what I'm doing right now.
Yeah, tell them about your Instagram, Luis.
Ah, there it is.
Oh yeah. that's the last running. I hope you like it. It's all Kevin, like G.I. Joe. It's all Erik and Dan. So I'm just part of it, and I'm lucky to be part of that project and this project and every project that I get a chance to do with Tim and with Dan and with Erik. And so that's it. And my Instagram is I think it's on the bottom of my avatar. It's Luis the Colourist. You can check out all the projects that I try to make. Like Erik says, I have to don't sleep in order to work all of the projects. So that's me if you want to find me.
Excellent.
Nice.
So, Dan, where can people look for you, both online and your current work, without spoiling anything that you're not allowed to have announced?
I don't know if we're allowed to talk about that, Erik. Are we? No?
It hasn't been announced yet, so better not.
I cannot say anything about it, but it's a lot of fun. Let me think of... right now, I only have Twitter. So you can find me under... I think it's just Danny Schoening on there. I think there's another Dan Schoening out there, but he's cool too. I haven't met him. But sometime I'm kind of getting back into posting a bit more art and stuff on there. But I do have one thing I do every year that I wouldn't mind promoting is that I draw Post-it notes every year for Halloween. So if you're big into Halloween like I am, and you like to see lots of little sketches and fun homages to movies and even horror stories and stuff like that, you can check out the Twitter, and I'll post those in the month of October, which are a lot of fun. So, but I guess that's all I can share. That's kind of boring, eh? I'll have to wait for the announcement.
Keep eyes peeled for the next announcement. And Erik, what about you? We were looking at your website earlier on today, but
yeah, it's I really eventually got to change the URL for that because it's tricky to say. It's burnhamania.com. So my last name, Burnham, and then mixed with mania. There we go. But I'm easily found on Twitter, which just at Erik Burnham. And then Instagram is the same. And stuff that I got coming out. I've got Potions Inc. from Mad Cave. The first issue just came out here a few weeks ago. Lady Hell and Army of Darkness versus Reanimator are coming out pretty quick from Dynamite. And then the coming out this fall, the Saturday Morning Adventures for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles with Tim Laddie. That's what I'm working on right now. Really excited about. Mm-hmm. And then I got a comic strip up a couple of days a week at downsidecomic.com.
Excellent. Yeah. And Tim, what about you? Where can people find you?
My comic book store is in Somerville, Massachusetts, Hub Comics. My G.I. Joe blog is a realamericanbook.com, and separate from those two things, my two creative partners and I post humorous videos and video essays at atomicabe.com.
And just reaching 1 million views. Woohoo!
A week ago, we had 1 million views on YouTube total.
That's awesome.
Wow.
Right.
Excellent. So you can find us at talkingjoe.co.uk. You can find our stuff early if you like Richard, Sam, Jay, Bill, Christopher, and Justin, and back up Patreon. So I think that is pretty much us done. I'd just like to say thank you to all of you for creating this amazing set of 4 comics, which we both enjoyed reading very much, and have got our fingers and toes crossed that we might be able to see more of at some point in the future if the stars align. Mm-hmm. And a big thank you for just taking the time and being so generous with your time today to talk to us all about the project. So a big thank you, and hats off.
Thanks to all the fans that supported the book. We wouldn't be doing it without you. So it's huge.
Yeah,
we really appreciate it.
I appreciate the support from the readers. Appreciate the time on the podcast here. Thanks for having us. And I was just I was just blown away by the response to this. And again, like Dan said, thanks to everybody.
So I think that is us done, and time for me to put Tim on the spot by saying, remember that
nobody beats Talking Joe, an international podcast.
With at this point, 3 people in America, 1 person near Mexico City somewhere, and me on the south coast of England.
I'm in Canada, actually, but I guess it's close.
Oh. Yeah, same
I'm really
thing.
close.
Yeah.
I could do that again.
That's okay.
2 people from America, 1 person in Canada, 1 person in Mexico, and 1 person who's no longer here but was in a bonsai shop in America. Laters.